Hello there. Welcome back to Grade 11 Business Match. In this video, we want to look at a match at 2018 control tests. So we are going to look at the full question paper of March 2018. So I'm moving on the first part of our question. We are given instructions whereby the instructions that are going to be important. We are going to look at instruction number 1, whereby it reads that this question paper consists of 3 sections and covers 4 learning outcomes. So we've got section A, which is going to be compulsory. We also have section B, which consists of 3 choice of questions, answer any two. So very important for you to take notes. We have section C, which consists of 2 questions, answer 1 question. Very important. So these are the 3 sections that we have that we are just going to go through according to this question, according to this video. So remember, this video we are going to answer all the questions since we are revising for March test. So basically, another instruction that is important is for instruction number 2, which means read the instructions for each question carefully and take a particular note of what is required. Very important for you to interpret what is required in each and every question. So going to the first part of our question, which is going to be our question 1. So 1.1 reads various options are given as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the correct option and indicate this by placing the letter of the alphabet that corresponds to it next to the number. For example, 1.1.6, and then you write your E. So basically, this is how you are going to present, other section. So first question, the business is limited control over. So you're given various options that you are given there. So you'd see that obviously the business will the business will have limited control over something that is not internal and not within the business. So according to the responses that you're given, you'd see that the employees of the business inside the business, the business has full control. Also the technological environment, but if you look at competitors, there is a limited control. So you'll see that the correct response that we have is C. 1.1.2, the owners of the following form of ownership have unlimited liability. So basically, we need to understand what is unlimited liability. So you'd see that unlimited liability means that any owners share responsibility of debts in the case that a business fails. So when the business fails, it means the owners' personal assets can be taken to settle those debts. That's the story of unlimited liability. So which business for the following options that we are given have unlimited liability. So you'd see that partnership is the business that has unlimited liability. So unlimited liability becomes one of the characteristics of partnership. So we have B as the correct response. So if you go to 1.1.3, the production manager of XYZ clothing lacks adequate management skills. This challenge emanates from the test environment. So we are going to see that this is within the business, so it's part of the micro environment. So we have our correct response as A. So moving on to the next question, which is going to be 1.1.4. An employee who has been unfairly dismissed can report his or her dispute with CCMA. This is in line with, remember, the CCMA stands for a Commission for Conciliation, Mediation, and Arbitrage. So that's CCMA. So you would see that this is in line with the Labor Relations Act. So we have D. That's the correct response. Moving on to 1.1.5. The platinum mine in Limpopo is an example of the business in the dash sector. So obviously this is a mine. So it's involved in the extraction of minerals from underground. So we know that this is the primary sector. we have D as the correct response. So this is what we have on the multiple choice section. So moving on to the next section, which is going to be on matching words. It reads, choose the description in column B to match the term in column A. Write only the letter A to J next to the question number, that is 1.2.1 to 1.2.5 in the answer book. So the first term that we have is merger. And a merger, basically, it is an agreement that unites two existing companies into one new company. So when we have such a scenario, we are having a merger whereby two businesses are joining together. So if you go to column B, you are going to see that the correct response we have it on C, whereby it reads that the combination of two or more businesses of similar size into one business. So we have C as the correct response. So moving on to 1.2.2, prospectus. Prospectus, but basically a prospectus is a document prepared for an issue containing all the information about a public offering of securities. So we try to see which explanation is within that context in column B. So if you go down, you see that we have got we've got I, which is a legal document giving details about investment offerings to the public. So we have I as the correct response. Moving on to the next one is the trade union. In a trade union, it is an organization made up of members. So basically, we are saying it's a membership based organization, and its membership is mainly made up of workers. So basically, the trade union they bargain with the employer on behalf of its members on different matters. So we see which explanation can we match with trade unions. So we go to column B. So if you go to E, it's saying it represents the interests of workers in the workplace. So basically, E becomes the correct response. Then companies and intellectual property commission. So you'd see that this is responsible for registering of companies. So if you go to the options, you see that we are having G as the correct response, which reads responsible for registering companies. So we have G. Then we go to royalty, and we try to see which explanation do matches royalty. So if you go to A, it is payment made to the legal owner of the patent, copyrighted work, or franchise. So that's the explanation that matches our royalty, which is A. So this is what we put our second part of the first question, and this becomes the last question, the last part of our question one. We've got a total of 20 marks on question one. So moving on to question number two, which is on section B. Remember, the instruction on section B says answer in two questions from this section. So we are going to have three questions under section B, of which we are supposed to answer only two. So on question two, it reads it's on business environment. So the first question says name four challenges of the market environment. So the market environment includes every element that affects its ability to connect with its customers. So what are the challenges that are connected with the market environment is the question. So you are going to see that if there's competition, it's going to distract the relationship that is going to be there with the customers. So it becomes part of the market environment, and it's a challenge. So we have a competition. We also have shortage of supply, and also we talk about changes in consumer behavior, demographics, and psychographics, socio-cultural factors. So those are the challenges that we have. So going into our question, you see that our question is got four. It requires us to raise four challenges. So we have them listed in our other section, whereby we have five of them listed. So you can just opt for four. Then 2.2, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Andre Catering Services, ACS. So you just need to go through what you have in the scenario before you answer the question and try to comprehend what is in the scenario. So the first question that we believe that is identify three ways in which ACS is adapted to challenges of the macro environment. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario above. So basically, the macro environment, it refers to the set of conditions that exist in the economy as a whole. So conditions that exist in the economy as a whole are part of the micro environment. So it consists of the major uncontrollable external forces. So that's the macro environment. So our question leads us to identify three ways in which ACS is adapted to challenges of the macro environment. So we are supposed to motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. So very important. So you're going to see that if you come in, we can just try to see where do we have those. If you come here in this sentence, it reads that the management of ASC is adapted to do research on the reason for not uh, getting tenders anymore. So basically, the part of doing research is part of information management. So we have information management, and you are supposed to quote this part. Remember, you are given how to present it. Answer section whereby the reads use the table below to present your answer, whereby you've got a column for ways ACS is adapted to challenges of the macro environment, and then quote from the scenario. So in this column, you're going to have information management, and then you quote by putting this sentence that we have here. Then uh, another way of adapting to challenge of the macro environment, if you go to the next sentence, it reads, and they analyze the information and identify all the stakeholders involved so that they can get the viewpoints of each stakeholder. So you'll see that this is strategic response, which is part of our information management. So strategic response, then you quote again this second sentence. Moving on to the next, we go to this sentence starting from here. ACS has also decided to offer entrepreneurship programs in order to minimize the number of unemployment rate in the community. So obviously there is employment creation that is taking place in the community. So ACS is actually assisting the community, which is part of social responsibility. So we have a social responsibility, and then you quote again this sentence. So we have again that other section whereby we are going to have our information management, and then we quote where we have information management, strategic response, and then we quote where we have strategic response, and then social responsibility again, and we quote where we have social responsibility. So moving on to the next question, which is going to be 2.2.2, discuss two types of lobbying that ACS can use to influence decisions made by the government. So it's basically lobbying is a form of advocacy which lawfully attempts to directly influence legislators or government officials such as regulatory agencies. So that is the explanation on describing what is lobbying. So our question needs us to discuss two types of lobbying that ACS can use to influence decisions made by the government. So we are going to go through the types of lobbying that we have. So if you come, other section, we have got bargaining sessions between management and unions. And that is one of the types of lobbying, whereby it means that these sessions enable each individual worker who is powerless in their own to negotiate with employees as a group and ensure that workers' rights are protected, influencing the supervisor body or regulator. So where now they are influencing the supervisor body or regulators is now part of lobbying. Then the second part is influencing supervisor body or regulator. In this case, takes an active role in professional bodies. So they are now influencing professional bodies through their membership, advocacy, and submissions. They may be able to influence changes to existing regulations. So this becomes the second type of lobbying that we have. So this is the second part that we have according to our question. Our question 2. So moving on to our question 3, which is on our business ventures. It reads, name the documents that are presented by each of the statements below. So 3.1.1, a founding document that governs the running of a company. So we know that a founding document that governs the running of a company is a memorandum of incorporation. So we have got memorandum of incorporation. Then 3.1.2, the sale of shares or securities that have already been issued to the public. So this is a secondary offer prospectus. So these are the documents that we have also mentioned, other section whereby you've got memorandum of incorporation and secondary offer prospectus. So basically that's what we have. So moving on to the next question is saying, read the scenario below and answer the question that follow. So you are given a scenario that you have here that you just need to go through before you answer the questions so you can read and comprehend. Then 3.2.1 reads explain the meaning of limited liability. So I just need us to give an explanation of what is limited liability. But basically, limited liability, it is a form of legal protection for shareholders as the owners of the company that prevents individuals from being held personally responsible for their company debts. So we are saying the owners are not going to be held personally responsible for their company debts, and their personal assets cannot be taken to settle the debts of the company, given a situation whereby the company has become bankrupt and is closing and it has debts, so the personal assets cannot be taken. So to that extent, it becomes limited liability. So we have a brief description that we have according to our answer section, whereby it reads, limited liability means that the business is a legal entity and the assets of the members do not belong to the business. So this are the first point that we have. Then the second point, shareholders are not responsible or liable for the debts of the business. So very important. Then moving on to the next part, whereby 3.2.2 reads outline the procedure for the formation of companies. So obviously, we have the procedures are listed in our answer section, where we have the first one being determining the people establishing the company, and then I reserve a company name with the register of companies. Because there is no company without a name, so there should be a name that is for that company. Then I prepare a memorandum of incorporation, file a notice of incorporation, obtain a unique registration number. All companies must be registered with the register of companies, which is very necessary. Open a bank account in the register for taxation. So basically, simply what it means is you cannot run a business without a bank account. Draw up a prospectus for potential investors. So these are the procedures that we have. Then 3.3.3, advise Pinky on the benefits of establishing a company over a sole trader. What are the benefits of establishing a company over a sole trader? Obviously, a company is bigger than a sole trader, whereby we are saying when we are talking about a sole trader, it's a self-employed person who owns and runs his or her own business as an individual. That's a sole trader. So from there, we can easily differentiate between a sole trader and a company, whereby a company, you see, um, there is a possibility of us raising more capital under a company, because remember there are main owners. We've got shareholders as owners of the company. So shares, if it's a public company, obviously the shares are going to be issued publicly, whereby there is going to be a source of capital. So basically, that's the first differentiation that we can easily deduce. So we have a question asking us of benefits of establishing a company over a sole trader. So we have that listed in our other section, whereby we are seeing on the first point, a company has its own legal identity and has limited liability, unlike a sole trader. So this is an advantage from the point of view of the owners of the business. So if you are a shareholder as the owner of a company, you have your own legal identity, whereby we are saying your personal assets cannot be taken to settle the company debts, which is different from a sole trader, whereby there is unlimited liability. So this becomes the first advantage. Second one, companies bring in more investors to fund the setting of the business, whereas a sole trader mainly relies on the funds of the individual owner. So you see that we have got one owner as sole trader, very important for us to take note. One owner. So we are saying for a company, they can raise more capital or equity because of more investors, or the investors are the shareholders. We can issue the shares to many shareholders. So uh, we can raise more capital, which is an advantage. Then next point, directors are more likely to take risk of growth opportunities compared to sole traders. So obviously, we have directors under company that obviously are skilled for that purpose, and can obviously take risks for growth opportunities, which is not the case when we are in the sole trader. So our next one, companies often have a better cash flow than sole traders, which is very correct. A company can continue to exist whereas continuity is limited to the life and good health of the sole trader. So there is no going concern in the sole trader. When the owner dies, usually the business collapse. So that's the most of the uh, cases that we have under sole trader. So last one, companies often have tax benefits than sole traders. So those are the benefits or advantages that we can deduce of companies over sole traders. So that's what we have on 3.2.2. So the last part, advise ping on the benefits of establishing a company over a sole trader. So this is the last part that we have on question 3. So obviously we now want to move to our question 4. So moving on to our question 4, it reads list 3 types of ethical misconduct. Obviously, we have our 3 parts. So ethical misconduct basically is unacceptable behavior, which includes it can include inappropriate touching, and also we can also include sexual harassment as a part of ethical misconduct. So the question needs us to raise 3 types. So we have those 3 types. We've got sexual harassment, and we've got corruption. We could talk about mismanagement of funds also, and unauthorized use of workplace resources is also an ethical misconduct. So we go to 4.2, it reads, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. So we are given the UNA variance, which is UV, the abbreviation. So we are given also a text that we are given there that you just need to read and comprehend. And then 4.2.1, identify 3 business sectors from the scenario above. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. Our question is 9 marks. And use the table below to represent your answer, whereby you've got a column from business sector, and then you quote from the scenario to motivate that this is this type of sector. Remember, we've got 3 sectors. We've got the primary sector, secondary sector, and we also have the tertiary sector. So we need to identify them in the information that we are having here. So we are going to see that if you come here, you'll see that all the first sentence read UNA vineyards is located in Zumberg Mountain. UV is fertile soil which cultivates quality grapes. So this is agriculture that is taking place, and we know that agriculture falls in the primary sector. So we have primary sector as our first sentence. Then the second sentence, Rwanda producers buy grapes from UNA vineyards and uses it to produce wine in the country. So the production that is taking place, we have got the production of wine from grapes coming from the primary sector. And we know that whenever we have the converting of raw materials into final products, it becomes manufacturing and is part of the secondary sector. So we have secondary sector on the second sentence. The third sentence is Auto General Dealers is one of their loyal customers who enjoy their speed delivery services at reasonable prices. So speed delivery services, these are transport services, and we know that transport services fall under the tertiary sector. So we have the tertiary sector as the last one. So in our other section, we have that presented in our table, whereby we are saying under the primary sector, we have the first sentence motivating that, and then secondary sector, the second sentence motivating that, and then over the tertiary sector, we have the third sentence motivating that. So moving on to the next question, it reads, use the table below, 4.2.2. It reads, discuss the link between the business sectors identified in the question. So we need to identify the link between the primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. So obviously, if you take, for example, the primary and the secondary, they are linked in such a way that the primary sector supplies the secondary sector of raw materials. So we are going to see that that is the case. And then also the secondary sector supplies the primary sector with uh, products such as machinery, which they use to produce if it's an agricultural business, is they use the machinery that they use to cultivate. So it also takes some of its products from the secondary sector. The primary sector also takes from the secondary sector. And they're going to see that also the primary sector also needs transport services, which they take from the tertiary sector. And also the secondary sector, they rely on the tertiary sector in terms of bank services. So we can see how they are connected. So we can easily come out with the links between the sectors. So we have them also explained in other section whereby you're saying the secondary sector depends on their primary sector for raw materials and products. That is the first point. And then the secondary sector converts the raw materials obtained from the primary sector into more useful products. And the primary sector in turn depends on the secondary sector for manufactured goods such as machinery. And then the primary sector is dependent on the tertiary sector for its customer needs. The tertiary sector depends on the primary sector for raw materials that do not need processing by secondary sector. So we have raw materials that do not need to be processed. They can be easily go to the tertiary sector without passing through the secondary sector. Then we've got the secondary sector depends on the tertiary sector for the variety of services such as banking and insurance cover. So we see the link that exists. The tertiary sector depends on the secondary sector for manufactured goods such as office machines, office furniture, and also stationery. So this is what we have. So this becomes the last question that we have for question 4. So we now move on to the next question, which is going to be our question 5. Then moving on to our section C, we are going to have our 2 questions, and that is question 5 and 6, and we are supposed to choose 1 question. So, but according to this video, we are going to look at all the 2 questions. Question 5 is on business environment. So our business environment, you are given information that you are given before the question that you just need to go through. And then on the question part, it reads, write an essay on the following aspects, elaborate on the meaning of piracy, discuss the impact of piracy on businesses, advise businesses on how to use 3 solutions to deal with piracy, justify the establishment of trade unions. So on the first part, remember our essay is going to have an introduction, then you go to the main part, and then you're going to conclude with a conclusion. So in the introduction, that's where you're going to define terms that we have in your question. That is the business terms that you identify in your question. So you see that in our question, obviously, we have piracy. So the first point is going to be your introduction, whereby you're going to elaborate on the meaning of piracy. So in the introduction, that's where you're going to define piracy is an unauthorized use of reproduction of another person's work as an explanation on piracy. Products associated with piracy, you can give examples of computer software, DVDs, CDs, etc. And also, we can also try to explain further on piracy and the use of trademark that has been registered by another company. So if there's any, for example, the use of a trademark that has been registered by another company is also part of piracy. So that is in your introduction, but we are more concerned about the main part according to this video, whereby we are going to start on the on discussing the impact of piracy on businesses. So obviously, piracy is going to lead to negative effects on businesses. Businesses are going to lose profits. Revenue is going to be lost since we are having a scenario whereby part of the profits or part of the revenue is going to be taken by those that are going to illegally use the products or ideas or whatever of the business. So basically, we go to our other section, try to see what impact of do we have of piracy on businesses, whereby the first point is it determines the music or movie industry as they lose money. So the issue of losing money is there. And then it drives up the price of products in order to compensate for the loss in sales. So you're going to see that as the business lose sales and they try to compensate for that, and then when they try to compensate for that, they try to widen their profit margins by increasing prices. Then we go to at least to job losses in the industry. Obviously, is the revenue is negatively affected. Uh, the business is going to be left with little money to pay its salaries and wages. Obviously, they accommodate less workers, and it's going to lead to job losses. The music industry feels reluctant to develop new talents as the element of risk is too high. So, obviously, potential business people might be intimidated by the issue of piracy and do not venture into those activities of operating business. So it becomes a disadvantage even to the whole economy. May cause damage to the value of the business, which is also correct. Right. On the next part now, it reads, advise businesses on how to use 3 solutions to deal with piracy. So we are going to go through the solutions that are going to be used to deal with piracy. We've got patents, we've got trademarks, we've got also copyrights. So the question requires us to come up with 3. So we can talk about patents, trademarks, and copyright. So we can start by patents, whereby we are saying it is a type of intellectual property that gives its owner the legal right to exclude others from uh, using, or selling an innovation. So that's the explanation of patents. So we have that other section whereby you're going to a patent as the first one. Businesses can take out a patent of new inventions and include a sample of their inventions with applications. So that can be a solution. They must register a patent with the Patent Office in South Africa. So the patent must be registered. And also they should comply with the Patent Act number 57 of 1978. A patent prevents other businesses or people not to produce and sell the same product. So this is what we have under patents. And also we can have trademarks, whereby a trademarks, we are saying, is also an intellectual property, a form of intellectual property that consists of, it might be a word, a phrase, symbol, it can be a design that identifies a particular product and it distinguishes that product from other products. So that's a trademark. So we have explanation that we have other trademarks. We have got businesses have trademarks to identify themselves and their products. And they must register their trademarks with the Register of Trademarks and the Companies and Intellectual Property Registration. So they have to be registered for you to claim them. A registered trademark is protected forever. It is renewed every 10 years and a renewal fee is paid. So this is some of the information that we can include under trademarks. So on the next, we have got a copyright also as a solution, whereby copyright we are saying it's an exclusive right to copy, it might be to distribute, to adapt, or perform creative work, usually for a limited period. So if the period is limited in terms of a copyright, so business can sue someone who infringes the copyright. So that is how you can protect your product. They can also sue someone who sells or distributes work that he or she do where infringements of a copyright. Then the next one, they can take legal action against people who copy their products. So this is what we have under copyrights. Then this becomes the last part of the solutions that you can come up with to deal with piracy. So on the last part, we have to justify the establishment of trade unions. Justify the establishment of trade unions. Remember, trade unions, they do exist on behalf of its members, which are the workers. In terms of main aspects, they negotiate better remuneration, better working conditions, etc. So we have that also, other section whereby we are going to try to come up with benefits of trade unions, whereby we are saying engaging in industrial action such as protests and strikes is why we have our trade unions, so that obviously when there are industrial actions such as protests and strikes, the members are protected by the trade union. And then taking a political action to influence a government strategy is the second one. And also establishing minimum economic and legal conditions, providing protection of their members, engaging in collective bargaining for better terms and conditions, assisting workers with grievances such as disciplinary action or victimization, negotiating with employers for decent working conditions in order to improve the standards of living. So this is what we have on 5.4. So obviously this becomes the last part that we have on question 5. So we are now moving on to the last question of this question paper, which is going to be our question 6. So moving on to question 6, it's on business ventures. So you're also given information that you need to go through before you attempt the question. So you can go through and comprehend what you are given. Then on the first part of our question, that is our essay question 6, which is it reads elaborate on the meaning of outsourcing. So obviously we are going to go through what exactly do we mean by uh, outsourcing. But of course, this is an easy question again. You have to start with the introduction, whereby you can find one or two terms that you can define in the introduction. And of course, that's where you're going to define outsourcing. And then from there, you go to your main part, and then finally, you conclude with your conclusion. So on outsourcing, or the meaning of outsourcing, you'd say that it is a business practice in which companies use external providers to carry out business processes that could have been handled internally. So those business processes that could have been handled internally, but the business goes on and approach external providers. That is the concept of outsourcing. So we have that other section whereby we've got the meaning of outsourcing, whereby we are saying outsourcing is when the business hires another business or individual to perform tasks that were previously done by its employees. So that's what we have on outsourcing. Then moving on to the second point, which is a business practice where some functions of the business are given to another business or an individual to perform with the aim to improve efficiency. So basically, the main aim behind outsourcing is to improve efficiency, because the parties that we are going to hire from outside, those external providers, are going to be uh, specialists in those fields. They are going to be skilled and experienced. So that's the element is to enhance the quality of the product that we are producing. So improve efficiency. So that's what we have on our meaning of outsourcing. And on the second part, so we are being told to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the following avenues of acquiring and the business. So we've got franchising and outsourcing as the avenues of acquiring a business. So we can start by going through franchises, whereby you're going to come up with advantages and disadvantages of franchising. But basically, franchising is a strategy of business expansion. Franchising comes as a strategy of business expansion, whereby a franchisor licenses some or all of its know-how, it might be know-how, it might be procedures, or use of its business model, or its brand, or it might be rights to sell, or it might be its branded products and services. And obviously, the franchisor licenses to the franchisee. The franchisee is the recipient. So that's what we have on franchising. So we need to come up with advantages that we have under franchising. So we're going to say that the first positive or advantage is that purchasing or a franchise could be cheaper than starting your own business. So remember, the expenses that are needed and the capital that is needed to start your own business might be a huge amount. But if you talk about franchising, it will be a cheaper option. So that's the first point that we have. Second point is say a business is based on a proven idea and the products are tried and tested. So you are on financing, we are taking on a business that has been proven to be successful, ideas which have been tested, the products that have been tried and tested. So obviously it's going to be an advantage. That's what we have. Then we go to reduced long-term financial risk again. Is an advantage. Businesses are able to use a recognized brand name and registered trademark, which helps with advertising and marketing. So you see that no much effort is going to be done in terms of marketing because it's a product that has already been marketed before, that is existing in the market. So the customers are aware of that product. The system's operations, goods or services are well established, which is also correct. So we have other advantages that I'm going to follow that we can also include. Then moving on to disadvantages of franchising, we can have acquiring a franchise can be an expensive initial outlay. So in some cases, it might be an expensive initial outlay depending on the nature of the franchise that you are taking. And there are often restrictions in the agreement in terms of how you can run the business. Obviously, you are using a business that is being run by that belongs to another owner. So obviously, you are going to be given restrictions in terms of how to run it, which is going to be a negative on your part. So the level or the extent of exploring is going to be limited. Then we go to many creative entrepreneurs feel limited as to how they can grow their business, how they can grow their idea. So you are not free. You don't have the space to grow your own ideas. As you are limited within the scope of the franchisor. Then you go to the brand could be a bad reputation through other franchisees, and a large portion of profits is paid on royalties. Often the franchisees do not deliver on their promises. So these are some of the disadvantages that you can also look at. And then we have got outsourcing. We have defined outsourcing. We have already defined outsourcing as a business practice in which companies use external providers. So basically, now we now want to come up with advantages of outsourcing. So first one is saying a company is able to reduce costs as outsourcing can lead to decrease in staff remuneration, control, and operating costs. So by outsourcing, we reduce some costs as we are giving the burden to the external provider. So basically, that's what we have on the first point. And the second point is saying the business can focus on its own vision or goals and to apply its staff more effectively in its core business. So we are going to say that some of the activities that are going to be outsourced are auxiliary or are not part of the main core of that business. So by giving those activities to external providers, it means the business or the staff is now having more time to concentrate on the core activities of the business. So that's what we have. And then we'll improve access to skilled people as the outsourced work will be done by highly skilled people without the company having to employ them. So obviously, the external providers that are going to be engaged in outsourcing are going to be specialists on their field. So obviously, we expect quality in terms of what's going to be delivered. So that's how it can be an advantage. A business has access to resources and equipment for a specific function. So these are some of the advantages that we include under outsourcing. So moving on to the next part, whereby we are now looking at disadvantages of outsourcing. So on disadvantages of outsourcing, there might be loss of management control over the task, which may affect the quality over time. So we're going to see that as a franchisee, you are going to encounter some problems, which is going to be a disadvantage, whereby we are saying the control that we have over the franchise is going to be limited. So it might affect the quality. So that's the first point that we have. There may be a less of personal care or quality as the business is not personally involved in the execution of the in the personal in the is not personally involved in the execution of the franchise. So you're going to see that if you are as a business, you are not going to be 100% involved in the execution of the function. is we are going to leave the task to the external provider. So it might be a disadvantage if the external provider is not going to deliver up to the expectation. So it becomes a disadvantage. There are often hidden costs in outsourcing. So this point is trying to say there are some costs that you might not take into consideration that you might incur as a business by engaging external providers that are hidden, that are maybe going to outplay or outcompete the benefits that you anticipate to enjoy. So basically, that's what we have. On the last point, confidential issues could be at risk if the information is given to another company who performs the function that is outsourced. So we're going to see that infringement of the privacy of the company is also going to be an issue. As we are saying, confidential information of the business is going to be a compromise. So because we are going to engage an external provider, it's going to come, it is going to maybe go through some internal documents that are confidential. So it now depends on the external provider on how they respect privacy and how they respect the secrecy of the company. So basically, that's what we have in the last point. Then 6.4, which is on contractual obligations of a franchising, we can try to see on the question is saying, explain the contractual obligations of a franchising. So basically, a contractual obligation, it is a legal obligation that a party is required to fulfill, is outlined by in a contract. So it will be outlined in the contract. So it becomes a legal obligation that a party is required to fulfill. So that's a contractual obligation or something that parties agree to do. So if the parties agree to do something, it becomes a contractual obligation. So the question needs us to explain the contractual obligations of franchising. When you're franchising, what are the contractual obligations? So we are saying the policies that govern the product or service. There should be policies that govern the product or service. Then there should be the training of staff members, royalties or profits owed and methods and dates of payments. So we have to abide by what is agreed upon. So the form of ownership that the franchisee will operate under, and then the details of operation that need to be agreed upon. So that's what we have on 6.4. Then on the last part is motivate why listing is important. Why do listing is important? So you can start by understanding what is listing. So listing is a contractual agreement calling for the user to pay the owner for the use of an asset that is leasing. So it's a contractual agreement again. So, but it calls the user to pay for the to pay the owner for the use of an asset. So that is leasing. It's mainly explained from the point of view of property, whereby a rentals takes place, whereby you've got the lessor and the lessee. So the question leads us to come up with reasons why listening is important, to motivate why listening is important. So we are saying for the first part, there is no legal or financial outlay as the cost is spread over a number of months or years. Obviously, you are not going to buy the property, but you are just going to use it and pay for a certain period. So no large amounts of initial capital outlay, no large financial outlay. So it becomes an advantage to the lessee. The lessor normally covers the maintenance or replaces any damaged parts of the equipment. So if there are any maintenance costs that are going to be paid, it's not on or it's not going to be on burden, but the burden of the lessor. So that's the scenario that we have. The next point, the assets can be returned to the lessor when it is no longer needed. Then well, there are tax advantages as rental payments are calculated as operating costs and therefore tax deductible. A tax deductible, which means it's going to reduce the amount of tax payable to SARS. So it becomes an advantage. It's the amount that are going to be paid for rentals for the for leasing are going to be tax deductible, which means that the tax that is going to be part of those rental payments is going to reduce the amount that is payable to SARS. So that becomes an advantage. And then it is easy to list a better or newer version of the product without the capital outlay. So the last part of our importances or advantages of listening. And this becomes the last question that we hear according to this video. And this was a full question paper of March 2018. Thank you for listening, and hopefully the video was helpful. And please, let's not forget to subscribe and share to our channel. And let's take note, more typical examination questions will be uploaded on this channel. So let's stay tuned. Let's subscribe and share. We'll meet again in the next video.